And good evening, East Africa. Welcome to yet a brand new week of the desk. This is actually going to be somewhat an exciting one. Now more than ever, I am yours truly, Shadrach Shagaf Kisame, and I'm logged on to the continent's leading intellectual platform. Actually, the highest platform, solution finding, the desk. Now, if it's Wednesday for U24, it's all about the desk. Now, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking to a young man. He's a youth. He's in school and he's a students leader from Makerere University, Mr. Kakuru Edison. Now, I tell you, we're going to be tackling how the parents, the students feel with this slow pace of reopening of schools, because as we can see, some of the businesses have actually been opened, but schools, there's been a lag. What's the impact? How do they feel? And most suitable to represent the students community is a finalist from Makerere University, and he's a students leader, Kakuru Edison. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you, man.
Thank you.
Yes, so tell me, what's happening in your life, in town, where you are?
Well, being a final year student at a university like Makerere, it's always hard work, reading and trying as hard as possible to strategize and see and make sure that at least by the time you leave campus, you have something to do.
Okay, so tell me, what's your course? What are you studying?
I'm doing education. Basically, I'm studying to be a teacher.
Do you have teaching?
Of course, I do, and I applied, and applying to do education at a university like Makerere, you really love such a profession.
Okay, before we even go into the discussion, tell me, what do you think this stigma that was around the course of education? You know,
Well,
it was all.
the government can always, you see, if they can get the teachers in the database and they try to, because you have teachers that have been teaching senior 1, senior 2, senior 3, and those that have been teaching senior 5. So those teachers are still not going to be employed when the schools open for the candidates alone. So if we get these teachers that are in several communities, we get to have particular, maybe you can use those community halls and other places. You make sure that maybe there is that kind of social distancing and all that. These students can always be guided, because this money that is going to be used to purchase the radios and TVs, yes, they can be used, but how sure are we that the parents are not going to use these radios for their own benefit?
On that point of parents, actually, I want us to go for a short break. When we come back, then we access this. How has this impacted parents? Parents have just paid school fees.
Yeah.
How can they help government? You know, how can we find a way
Yeah, sure.
harmoniously to go around this? All right. Now, do not go where you are still a lovely audience and you're still logged onto the continent's leading intellectual platform. Do not go where we're still at Nile Avenue and we're coming back. All right, and welcome back to the second segment of this very lovely episode of The Desk, where we're actually tackling the impact of the coronavirus on the education and students, teachers, parents, and the entire system, all stakeholders in the education institutions. Now, you can follow this very lovely discussion on our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Do it for Shadrach Kisame and do it for U24 television. Now, if you are watching the show and you have a relative in the diaspora or they are not on TV, call them up and tell them that The Desk is live on Shadrach Kisame's YouTube. Now, after watching, do not forget to subscribe and click on that bell for notifications that every time we put up something, you can always be able to catch the episode. Like, we're still with Mr. Kakuru Edison, final year student at Makerere University, pursuing education, and he's very, very enthusiastic about teaching, and he's telling us there's light at the end of the tunnel, what students should do, what government should do, and what parents should do. Now, we're talking about the parents.
Well,
Yes, so what is their role in this whole thing? Because we cannot complain enough. Everyone is complaining and everything, but what is their role in this thing to harmoniously work with government and the students?
well, thank you very much, and I'm glad to be here.
Yes.
If you look at the parents play a pivotal role in supporting the learners and preparing them psychologically. You realize that social media has become something slightly, it has played negatively in this whole issue. There is a lot of exaggeration, and these stories try to scare the psychological being of the students. You know, they tell you today that 30, maybe 40 people have died of this, and 50 people have coronavirus and all this. So students are always getting this information, and they feel like maybe the world is about to end. But when you come in as a parent and you come in with a message of hope, these students will come to realize that yes, COVID-19 is here, but if we do such and such a thing, maybe we can be in position to prevent it. Most times social media provides information but does not give us solutions. But as a parent, if you're out there and you have a child and you feel like because this information that is given, for example, you're watching a TV and then the headlines come through and they tell you maybe 80 have contracted, 90 have contracted, but they never tell you that maybe if you do this and this, you can prevent the disease, or even on a bigger scale.
But but you know, Edison, they're always saying this. I've even, when I was coming to the station today, I saw someone was just putting up something. Where are your masks?
Well, that is said, and you see, the negative kind of information spreads faster than the positive one.
Yeah, that's correct.
And if you're a parent and you're in a home, actually, the children always listen to you more than they can listen to any person, any random person on the streets. So if a parent comes out and tells you that, you can avoid this disease by washing your hands, by social distancing, by not picking several masks. You're looking at these kids, they can pick masks all over and they start putting them on, and this is something that is that has a very, very negative impact.
Correct.
So that's number one. And maybe number two, the parents need to show their children that collectively there is something that they can do. You realize that we have so many children that are innovative, but if you look at the government, they have some people that they have engaged. I believe we can even start up particular modes of sensitization by empowering the young people, by empowering the young people in our communities.
You mean these students actually who are in school, but they are on hold because of Corona?
Exactly. These students can always carry on that kind of information, telling their fellow friends that avoid unnecessary movements. You can always wash your hands. Because if an older person is telling a younger person, at times they feel a little bit reluctant. But if a fellow colleague tells you that, this thing is very dangerous, maybe they can try to avoid it in one way or the other. So looking at the impact of COVID-19, maybe on the side of the parents, you realize that if you talk about the resumption of schools on the side of parents, some of them are not yet financially strong to support their children to go back to school.
Actually, on that point, before you even go forward, I was talking to a colleague and they told me that there's a school that actually doubled school fees, something like that.
Exactly, because
they doubled school fees. This person has not been working. The person is a candidate. The child is a candidate. So they're in a dilemma.
And you cannot also blame the school proprietors, because this is where they also earn a living. And now this is where the government comes in. Because some people, now the private schools, they always have they start up such schools to make money. The child is paying 1.5, and if you have about maybe 700 students studying, you're really making something. Now, if you are closed for about 7 or 8 months, you are not making any profits. And so once the students come back, you're not going to have a soft hand on them, because you've also not been working, and maybe some of the buildings you've been renting, and so there are certain demands that you have to meet. So when the government comes in, this is how they can support maybe the parents. At least if there is that kind of fund that can be set apart, to maybe that can be given to, we're talking about the loan schemes, maybe to support the school proprietors, but also the parents can be supported. They can be given a waiver. They can be told maybe not to pay these school fees for those who cannot.
But can government come out? Can government, because you see government failed to come out on the issue of the landlords to say that, landlords at least waiver 1 month.
Well,
they failed to give their position.
Well,
so do you think in this matter they can come out and say, hey, schools?
We are talking about the education sector.
Exactly.
Which this is the field that trains the next generation.
Correct.
So if you're not in a position to support this generation, then you're going to have something very bad in the near future, because these are kids that are seeing whatever that is transpiring. And the next few years, they will be the decision makers.
Correct.
So I believe the government can always come in to support the teachers and be in position, because some teachers have not been paid. And you cannot blame the school owners, because the school owners have also not been making some money. So if they can come in and they say maybe a given percentage is going to be paid to each and every private teacher, that is how they can be supported. But guess what? Going into a classroom, you know that you've not been earning for about 8 months, and you also have particular needs that you are supposed to work upon. It is something that is torturing psychologically, and I don't think as a teacher you can teach a child and the child will understand.
But does government have that money that you guys, you know, it is very easy for you to echo and say, let government come out and do this, come out. But does government have those funds?
Well, I think it is just a matter of priorities, because if you talk about the government having the monies, I'll remind you about the billions of money that have been spent in other sectors, and they tell you maybe this road that was supposed to cost this has maybe taken us this, and yes, if you are empowering the next generation and you feel you want to have maybe the future Steve Jobs, or there's so many people that we always admire, we need to empower these people by supporting the teachers, by supporting the children as well. Because if you look at the levels of innovation in Uganda, the children are innovative. And the kind of curriculum that we have right now does not enable them to bring out their clear skills. Correct. We have students that are studying to be journalists that don't know how to operate a camera. These people go out to apply for jobs and they don't have any added skill.
Actually, I'm going to go for a short break, but when I come back, you being a teacher, you're the people teaching people Zwangendava, Shaka Zulu, the Ngoni and all those things. After the break, let's talk about how relevant or irrelevant the education system of the country is. All right, now do not go away. You are still on the continent's leading intellectual platform, actually the highest platform for solution finding. Do not go away. The desk returns in a bit. Welcome back. Now, you're still on the continent's leading intellectual platform, the highest platform for solution finding, the desk, with yours truly, Shadrach Shagaf Kisame, and we are broadcasting here at Nile Avenue at Nakasero Hill. We're actually at UBC headquarters now. Thank you very much for keeping yourselves glued onto U24, and the desk in particular, because if it's Wednesday, it's all about the desk. Now, this is the last segment. You better sit back, relax, better lean forward, or even stand up, because the desk has 10 minutes to go. And we're still with Mr. Kakuru Edison. Now, you can follow this very lovely discussion on our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Edison.
Yes.
We're even going to start with me. I studied paramedics, but I've never worked.
Well, it's the issue.
Now, you'll be there in class teaching people Zwangendava.
So
Shaka Zulu, the one who transferred his capital from Muscat to Zanzibar, and those things never help us. How should we go about this?
Well, this is about the curriculum. Now, the curriculum, the Ugandan educational curriculum, was structured in a way that it does not empower the learners to be innovative. It is too theoretical. You will know a lot of history, a lot of the things that happened in the past, but you're not in a position to discuss ideas of national importance. You're not in a position to create certain things. And we are not to be blamed as teachers. Well, maybe to some extent we are, but the bigger percentage, maybe we need to look at the government and also the policy makers.
So does that mean what you teach, the system with which you use, because that system is the tool, or is the aid? Does that mean you don't believe in what you're using to communicate?
Of course, we are looking at it, but then the policy makers at the national, at the NCDC, they are the people that the people that draft this kind of curriculum that we are always following. You realize that from my senior 5, I was taught the same thing. By the time I left, now even my young brothers, they are being taught the same thing, and yet the time is going. We are talking about the 21st century, whereby someone should be having the skills of operating a computer, a tablet, and maybe working from anywhere they are. But we are taught certain things that were being taught by our parents, and you can always sit with your father and they'll tell you, hey, you guys also looked at Shaka. You're also looking at Chinua Achebe, you know? Yes. So these are the same things that we are all looking at. But if we can have a review on the curriculum, and we try to delete certain things that are not relevant, and we add in the 21st century curriculum, I think it can be in position to assist us. Now we are looking at e-learning in the 21st century, where the government will come in and tell you, we are going to provide, we want people to start studying online and everything. But have you really structured your curriculum along that line? Do people have the necessary gadgets? Because if you're talking about having students studying maybe online, you need to be in position to have a kind of curriculum that can engage people, to maybe at first to train them on how to use computers. But today certain students are introduced to computer studies in senior 5, and by the time they are done, they are just studying actually to pass exams. So they literally know how to operate a computer with their theories.
Yes.
But physically or practically, it is very, very hard. So we need to look at the change of a curriculum from what it used to be.
But
maybe
then also,
we have extra adjustments.
But then also, don't you think, Edison, it has too much of wasting time? Because if I look at, let's say, my producer Shem here, I have a feeling he wasted time studying chemistry.
Well, it's not
because someone wastes time for 4 years and you're studying chemical combustion.
I know the molecular mass and all that.
Molecular density.
I will tell you, it's not a wastage of time, because the time you spend in school, it gives you a chance to have an independent kind of reasoning. You realize that there are certain people, if you look at someone who didn't have any kind of exposure to education, their self-esteem is very, very low. You realize that they can do certain things, but they fear. I'll give you an example. Just approaching someone in an office. If someone did go to school, to some extent, they really feel like they don't deserve to be there. But if someone is there, if someone goes to school for some good time, they're in position to build their social capital, because you studied with so and so, and to some extent you know what to do because you can be guided by what you studied. So I believe being there for 4 or 6 or 16 years, it is something that is also very good, because you gain that kind of exposure, and in one way or the other you use that knowledge and you apply it in one field or the other, and you are surely good to go.
I'm going to give you an example. Let's say in Germany, the first world countries, the US, a child, they spot talent at a very tender age, and they say that one is a footballer, and they say that one is a musician, and they want to waste time in chemical combustions.
Well,
and you see, because efficiency is topmost when we are looking at productivity. How efficient are you? Now, you've seen someone is very good with music, you've taken them to chemistry. Now, by the time they realize it's music, they are not as efficient like someone who grew up, doing this whole thing. So I think, you're not into policy making, but you could get there.
Well, on my side, I'll tell you honestly, we can. Our voices can be heard.
Correct.
I know so many
That's
people
why you're on
watching.
national TV.
Exactly.
Yes. And the policymakers are actually watching you.
Very good.
Me as Shadrach, I'm a journalist, so it doesn't count much. But you who is a teacher, you're like, hey, yes, we are teaching these things, but they're not helping that much.
Well, maybe this should act as a wake-up call, and the most surprising thing is there's still the policymakers. They have also kids that are going to school, and they know the repercussions of certain things. I believe there is a lot that we can do in line with the education sector. We can empower the teachers to provide everything that they need to provide. But if we compare ourselves to Germany and the United States and all the European countries, I don't think we can really make it, because these people, they plan their thing. If you ask them this question, that how did you guys make it, they will tell you they had to plan maybe for a given time, maybe like for 10 years to realize what they want. We need to take a look at a country like Rwanda. These people, I was chatting with some education students the other side in Rwanda, and they were telling me that they study maybe for the first year, they will study, and the second year and the third year, they are always in field to have a feel of what is supposed to be done. So, but here in Uganda, you study, I'll give you an example of students doing MDD. They have more practicals in year 1. Now in their second year, they have actually a lot of theory. They are more into class. And even in their third year.
But MDD, let me ask, MDD, what are you doing in class?
Of course, this is about the curriculum still, and
because for MDD, I think it should be. No, this is my thinking. It should be practical all through.
Well, it should be practical, but there are a few elements that we need, because if you study, for example, journalism, you're not entirely going to be in studios and presenting.
Yes.
There are those that can do public relations. There are those. Okay, education will expose you to so many fields. That's one. So we can always give maybe a bigger percentage to the practical bit of it, and then the theoretical one, we can give it around 30%. But I believe either way, everything is important. It's just a matter of priorities. So we need not to compare ourselves to the first world countries, but we need to look at small countries like Rwanda. Maybe there's surely something that we can gain.
I absolutely agree. Now, before we go away, because our time is actually well spent, let's say you're the president of East Africa, 5 countries combined. For let's say 24 hours, what would you do first?
Of course, I will fight as hard as possible to see to it that the teachers have the best kind of lifestyle, because these are the educators of our nation.
For all the countries? No, we are not talking about Uganda. We're talking about all the countries.
Very true.
Kenya, Tanzania, and you're the president of all of it. Let's say just, even if it's 24 hours in office.
Even if it is 24 hours, I will make sure that the welfare of the teachers in East Africa is always made the best, because we suffer the same challenges.
Really?
We have, okay, we may have a slight difference, but still we suffer the same challenges.
Because I heard teachers are running from Uganda going to Tanzania and Rwanda to teach because they are more better conditions.
Of course, yeah. If your teacher here is earning maybe around 300,000, a teacher there maybe is earning around 700. Still, it is not reasonably good. I believe if you work on supporting their welfare, there is a lot that they can offer.
It is a wrap, Mr. Edison. Thank you very much for coming to the desk.
Thank you so much for hosting us.
Yes, you go and teach and educate the nation. Now, thank you very much for always keeping yourselves glued on U24 television, and the desk in particular. You're always a lovely audience. You keep us going. You keep asking for more. Now, the discussions always go on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for Shadrach Kisame and U24 television. Go to the pages and like YouTube, subscribe to Shadrach Kisame and U24 television. Now, from me and the entire U24 management, we'd like to sign out. We'd like to say good night, good luck, adios, and may the good Lord bless this beautiful Uganda.